When we tell stories about our families, it's important to be truthful and accurate. Our stories can have a powerful impact on our families and communities. They can help us understand our past, connect with our ancestors, and learn from ours and their mistakes. Welcome to Write Your Family History. My name is Devin Noel Lee, and today we're having a Writer's Corner where we discuss a particular topic and how the theory of writing might apply to family history, and then we go into the discussion section and hopefully have a conversation on how to apply those principles. So let's get into today's topic. There are several reasons why people might be tempted to retouch the past. Some might want to make their family seem more important or virtuous than they actually were. Others might want to cover up embarrassing or painful events. Still, others might simply be mistaken about the facts. Let's be honest. If you've ever heard a family story or a legend that turns out to be somewhat inaccurate at best or false at worst, you know this is a natural occurrence within families across time and culture. However, as genealogists, we want to correct the inaccuracies even if our ancestors are more boring, less virtuous, or extremely embarrassing. So my thoughts are these. So what if your ancestors are boring, less virtuous, or extremely embarrassing? You know, you and I are, and those around us are probably pretty boring, have some virtue problems, and often do embarrassing things. We're human, for crying out loud. While the modern era gives many people, no matter what the age, what the youth of today called main character syndrome, the truth is that we're important to our loved ones, but we need to be truthful about who we are so we can be truthful about our ancestors. With that said, let's talk about how you can recognize bias and misconceptions in the stories you tell or discover about your ancestors. We have to get theoretical for a moment and point out some of the common biases. So stay with me if this is too big brain, as my young teenage son likes to call. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs and to ignore information that contradicts it. When writing about our ancestors, confirmation bias can lead you to focus on stories and information that portray your ancestors in a positive light, emphasizing their achievements, virtues, and heroic deeds. You might selectively omit or downplay any accounts that suggest negative traits, failures, or moral shortcomings. Or you might confirm your judgment about an ancestor's negative attributes and not document the positive parts of their character or choices. This tendency can result in biased and incomplete portrayal of your ancestors, perpetuating either a glorified or vilified and most likely inaccurate image of them. Hindsight bias is the tendency to believe that we could have predicted an event after it has already happened. For example, it may lead family members to oversimplify the complexity of their ancestors' lives or downplay the challenges they faced. This can create a misleading rosy picture of the past, obscuring the struggles and sacrifices that previous generations endured. Additionally, hindsight bias can lead to the misinterpretation of family stories and events. Knowing the outcome of a particular situation may cause family members to assume that their ancestors' choices were obvious or inevitable, failing to appreciate the uncertainty and difficulty they may have faced at that time to choose the path that they eventually chose. This can lead to misunderstandings of their motivations and their actions and their behavior. Presentism is the tendency to judge past events by the standards of the present. This bias creates an anachronistic lens, meaning belonging to a period other than being portrayed, that distorts the historical context and undermines the authenticity of your narrative. Characters are unfairly judged for not adhering to contemporary values and beliefs which they could not have possibly known. that they should have known better, or if I lived then, I would have done this different. That mentality disregards the social, cultural, and political realities that shape the actions and decisions of people in the past. Presentism fosters a false sense of moral superiority and hinders empathy, making it difficult to connect with characters and understand their motivations. To hear more about what I think on this topic, check out the video linked into the description box. Now, bias is often very subtle. In my interview with Carol Baxter, she demonstrates how our bias might appear in word choice. I'll link to that video below as well, but the short version is this. If you say, a boat appeared on the horizon bringing invaders to the serene land, or a boat appeared on the horizon bringing weary settlers looking for a better life, do you realize both have bias, and the bias you choose depends on the frame of reference you are using to tell the story? Bias doesn't always lead to inaccuracy, but it's important to be aware of bias and use judgment to ensure the stories we tell about our ancestors' lives are as truthful and accurate as possible. When sharing family history, it's critical to remember that the significance of events can shift dramatically depending on their historical context. The social rules, cultural norms, and even individual motivations that governed our ancestors' lives were often vastly different from our own. What might seem mundane or insignificant to us today could have held immense weight for our ancestors, and vice versa. As family history writers, this means going beyond simply recording the names, dates, and places and events. We need to delve into our ancestors' world, research the social and cultural norms, and then piece it all together. We need to answer questions. What were the prevailing attitudes toward gender, race, religion, and class? We cannot assume, as was talked about in a video on Family History Fanatics, about whether women worked outside of the home before 1940. We need to be careful. What were the major political, economic events of the day, and how might that have impacted your ancestors' life? Let's take an example. Consider a great-grandmother who left her family to pursue a career in the early 19th century. Today, that might seem like a bold and empowering move. But in her time, it could have been seen as scandalous and selfish, leading to ostracism and hardship both for her and the people left behind. Understanding the context of her decision allows us to appreciate the choices she made, whether they were right or wrong at the time and later. Similarly, a great-grandfather who fought in a war might be seen as a hero today, but his experience could have left him with deep emotional scars that shaped his relationships and behavior for the rest of his life. It could be positive, but most often it's negative. When crafting historical narratives, it's crucial to maintain objectivity and avoid language that might sway the audience perception. Using words with strong connotations can often lead to biased interpretation. Here's an example. Describing an ancestor as brave implies a positive judgment on their action. A more neutral approach would be to state that they face danger with courage. A little more wordy, but a little less connotative interpretation applied. This allows the audience to form their own opinion about the ancestor's character and actions based on the evidence that you share. You, as the author, can use connotative language. Just have the details to back up your word choice. If you say someone is busy, what were they involved in that demonstrates their busyness? If they are brave, explain the acts that a reader would consider brave, even if it's a bit insane. Oh wait, that's a connotative word. Whoops. But you get the idea. You can use connotative language as long as you back it up with examples, but as much as possible, strive to let the actions speak for themselves. Before we continue, if I have given you value during this video, please click the like button and subscribe. Then I would really love it if you would leave a comment or a question or other thoughts. My favorite part of doing the Write Your Family History channel is reading your comments and getting to know your challenges and hopefully motivating you to write those stories. When you're unsure about facts, stories, or context, it's crucial to be transparent and upfront about the uncertainty with your audience. This not only demonstrates your honesty and integrity, but also builds trust by showing that we're not trying to conceal or manipulate information. Remember, admitting that you don't know everything doesn't undermine your credibility. It actually enhances it. It's crucial to approach historical writing with a critical eye, recognizing and addressing biases and misconceptions that may have crept into the family lore over time. By employing thoughtful analysis, leveraging historical context, and avoiding prejudice, we can strive to create more accurate and truthful accounts of our ancestors' lives. I know this section was pretty theoretical and not necessarily actionable, but I'd love to hear from you. If you have examples of how someone has rewritten the past that you recognize or were even bothered by, let me know and let's discuss them. If you don't have such experiences, please write questions you'd like me to address in future videos. Together, let's explore the intricacies of our family history storytelling and uncover the best way to share that with our loved ones. Remember to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe on your way out. Then go write your family history.